We've been so caught up in the sports that have been suspended or events canceled since the outbreak of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic that we haven't given much thought to what might be coming in the fall or what might not be coming. That is, could the pandemic endure long enough to affect the football season? That's the topic today on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. It's Friday, March 27th, and I'm Blair Kerkhoff. We zero in on college football with Dennis Dodd, a national college sports writer for CBS who lives in Kansas City. Dennis wrote a piece that we've included in the show notes here that tackles the topic of an impacted college football season. What if there is no college football? That's the thought coaches, players, and fans don't want to fathom, but college athletic administrators quietly have been discussing all possibilities, including a worst-case scenario. What's the importance of college football? Well, in some surveys, it's the nation's second most popular sport behind the NFL, but more importantly, revenue from college football is the lifeblood for major college athletic programs like Mizzou, K-State, and Kansas. Dennis's story estimates that 80% of major college athletic budgets come from football, and you'll hear in a clip from Big 12 Commissioner Bob Bowlesby before we get to the interview with Dennis that college football athletic budgets will feel some pain for losing out on the NCAA tournament and other streams of revenue, but in Bowlesby's words, it's a whole new ballgame without college football. So you'll hear from Bowlesby and then our conversation with Dennis Dodd. After a break, we'll play some COVID-19 public service announcements from 4 college football coaches, starting with Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz, who's only been on the job for about 4 months. After Coach Drink, you'll hear the unmistakable gravelly voice of LSU's Ed Orgeron, who, as far as I know, was the first to deliver a public message. That happened on March 18th. After Orgeron, you'll hear from Alabama's Nick Saban and Texas's Tom Herman, delivering messages to their fans and college football. So, okay, here we go. First with Bob Bowlesby, and then Dennis and I talking about college football's path in a COVID-19 world.
It's a whole new ballgame if we find ourselves not playing football, because it affects everything we do. It affects the largest portion of our TV contract, and it affects the largest source of campus revenue, which is live gate. So, it's anything that I say regarding finances has to make the assumption that we're going to be back to playing football in the fall. If that doesn't happen, then the underpinning of what we've known as normal goes away, and we'll have major changes to make.
All right, Dennis, we have got an interesting college football scenario before us, or I should say college football has an interesting scenario before it. And that is, as we lament not playing the NCAA basketball tournament and not having Major League Baseball going on right now, or anything else for that matter, Indy 500, Kentucky Derby, nothing is happening because of the coronavirus. We're looking into the future a little bit and seeing that there may be some other sports that are in peril because of this. And one of those is college football. You wrote a story this week for CBSSports.com about it. What did you find out from the people you talked to and about the prospect of college football season 2020?
Well, basically that it had become a talking point that there may not be a season, and it may be time to plan for that. And what does that even look like, considering that's the heart and soul of college athletics for an enterprise that really goes year to year. There's no bailout for college athletics. The NCAA had, some money left over for rainy day fund to help offset the cost of not running the tournament, but it didn't even come near what they would have distributed in the college on campus. There's virtually none of that. They spend every penny they make in general, and without football to fund basically everything, it's a dire forecast. But people are talking about it. There are contingency plans being made, but the future is so uncertain that nobody really knows right now.
Nobody does. And Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, who you heard at the top of the the program here met with reporters on a teleconference yesterday, and you had an opportunity to talk to him as well. And his, basically the tone of his teleconference, which lasted for an hour, and really, I really thanked him for doing that. I don't know of another major conference commissioner that has done that yet, and I think a lot of them will in the next week or so. But Bob was, talking about most of the theme was be careful, basically what you're hearing from everybody. But then the conversation rolled around to football and what might happen with college athletic budgets without football, and the conversation turned pretty dire. That everything he was saying in terms of being able to survive financially was based on having college football in 2020, and without it, it's, as he said, it's a whole new ball game without college football. I think I read in your story 80% of FBS budgets are made up of college football revenue.
Yeah, and I use the example of Georgia just because I had been talking to the Georgia AD, and their budget revenues, whatever, are the sixth highest in the country. I think 176 million. You take 80% of that away, they'd be down to 35 million. And while that sounds like a lot, it would not be enough to fund everything they have on campus. Scholars, somebody has to pay for those scholarships first of all, and at some places there's an athletic association that raises money for those scholarships, but at a lot of places, like in the Sun Belt, they depend on student fees to pay for those scholarships, and if there's no football, they're not going to pay those student fees pretty soon. But the 80%, I think the quote from maybe it was Ray Anderson, the AD at Arizona State. Maybe it was Bob. I don't know, but I wrote this down yesterday. If fall sports are impacted financially, it would ruin a lot of athletic departments. If there was no football, I think we'd be talking about some programs at the bottom end dropping football.
Yeah, I don't think a college, at least temporarily, right? I don't think a college sports season would begin in the fall if there was no football. Would begin in the fall looking like a regular college sports season. I can't see how that happens. So,
Right.
Look, all these events have already been postponed because of the practice of social distancing, and all the medical professionals are saying that this is the way to proceed. College football and NFL brings together tens of thousands of people, and look, we know right now as we're talking on Friday, March 27th, one of the hot spots for this is New Orleans, and we know that Fort Lauderdale has been with spring break crowds, and that was a hot spot as well. We're talking about states and places where college football is so important to the people who live there, and I don't know. I can't imagine. A season starting without college football, but best practices better be employed now if we're going to ensure having a football season, because we already know we're not having spring football, and look, right. Summer training I think is in peril as well.
Yeah, I mean, and for the most part, I think the colleges have observed that they are social distancing, meeting remotely. I don't know of any school that's having staff meetings every morning in person. So they're, in the off season, they're abiding by this. But there's a couple of things you have to think about before we start playing football. We are, as we record this, 5 months and 2 days away from the kickoff of the season. Can you imagine gathering 100,000 people in a stadium on a sweaty Saturday night, say in Death Valley, to watch? It'd be 200 players on the sideline, butting heads for 150 plays, 22 of those. I can't. And then you get to the point where, if you're going to start this on time, let's say with fall practice in early August, you've got to assume or be pretty sure there's going to be pretty much zero positives among the players or coaches, because if there's one, they've interacted with everybody in a locker room. And so you'd have to quarantine them and all of a sudden you don't have enough to play football. So I think that's something people have missed. That came to me after I wrote the piece. It's like, okay, this is how this started. Rudy Gobert, and then everybody freaked out, and that's when it really hit home for a lot of people. And the NBA shut down. You've got to be pretty darn sure this thing is eradicated, not just lowering the curve. I think eradicated before you snap a ball.
That's why Bowlesby yesterday on his conference call was pretty adamant about not making decisions right now about contingency plans, or at least announcing anything. Said, look, the next 30, 60, 90 days will tell us everything. And I think that's the prudent approach, isn't it? You can't make a call on summer workouts or anything like that, or how the season might start then until you have more information, until the curve flattens, if you will, and that's what we're all waiting for with this virus. One thing, Dennis, that I have found interesting is in certain parts of the college football is popular all over the country, but it's incredibly popular in the Southeast. And I've noticed that a couple of high-profile coaches, Ed Orgeron and Nick Saban, have put out some public service announcements, and so I guess Tom Herman has as well now at Texas, and Eli Drinkwitz at Missouri put one out as also, and it made me think about how much influence a college football coach, especially in the SEC or in that part of the country, has with fans. Don't you think that's a good way to at least try to get the message out to people that it's serious, to have Ed Orgeron or Nick Saban deliver that message?
I do. When Nick Saban released his statement, Twitter blew up with people just retweeting it. Like, oh, this must be serious. Scott Strickland, the AD, had a good anecdote when I was talking to him for that piece. He said, if you could tell every fan in the South, we guarantee we're going to play college football on time, but you have to stay indoors and not do anything for 2 weeks, they do it. If you could promise them that. Now you can't right now, but that's a good way to look at it. If this, then that. That's a good way to put it. And I got a lot of reaction to the story in that people were like putting their hands over their ears, saying, "I don't even want to hear it." It's Tony Barnhart, our colleague, who with the SEC network right now, among others, said he's got a bunch of guys, his fraternity brothers, they go to the Florida-Georgia game every year, gone for 30 years. And when they saw this happening, they said, you can do anything you want, but you better not take away Florida-Georgia. I mean, that's the mentality out there. I don't know what to say to those people. It may be out of your hands.
I'll tell you, I don't know what an abbreviated season would look like. Conference games only, or starting the season late. Like all the seasons are the ones that are missing action now. Have talked about Major League Baseball playing all the way to the end of the year, the NBA going into the this season going into the fall, and and we know that some of the individual events like the Indy 500 they're looking at dates later. I don't know with college football or football in general, because of the number of people you're talking about, like we mentioned earlier, how it just seems to me to be a difficult task right now to speculate on when a delayed season could start, or when we might, or what might have to happen for college football to occur. There is just no answer right now.
No, I talked to Bronco Mendenhall last week, who I think is one of the more thoughtful people, forget coaches, one of the most thoughtful people I've ever met. And he's already thought this out. He knows that you can't postpone. It's going to be really hard to postpone football season. It's pretty much locked in. You've got bye weeks, but you've also got bowl games on the back end, conference championship games, where you may not have access to the venue if you push it back because of the NFL. So he's already looked at this. They are actively planning at Virginia for an August 1st start from zero. No meetings in person, no workouts, no reps, no nothing. He said he can get his team ready from zero if they start August 1st with this remote meeting and all this other stuff.
Right.
He also threw out there, he goes, what's a legitimate season? An 8-game conference season, not playing non-conference games. I saw a report today that there's even whispers of starting in January. I think that would be a little bit,
Yeah,
yeah,
I saw that.
yeah.
Crazy.
I think that would be a little bit of student athlete welfare, because if you're going to do that, when do you start the 2021 season? That's a little bit too much to ask for college players, but something to think about. So I guess my short answer is everything's on the table to preserve this golden goose that is college football and the money that goes with it.
The money is essential. That's what it's the lifeblood of major college sports. But I think there's also a psychological thing here too.
Oh,
That we're
absolutely, yeah.
talking about the psyche of of our country and sports and the NFL. If football is delayed or doesn't happen or is somehow impacted by by this, it's I don't want to rate the sports. Everybody has their favorites, but the surveys tell us that the NFL is the most popular game in America, and college football is number two. And as I said, especially in the South and certain pockets of the country, it is the most important thing. And the prospect of not having football, college or pro, is, I don't know. I guess I don't want to think about it right now, but people in athletic departments are having to think about it.
Yeah, it would have a profound psychological effect in that. Look, baseball, we've had incomplete seasons. I know off the top of my head, labor issues in 72, 81, 94. They didn't play the World Series.
Right. 95 got delayed.
95 got delayed, played 144 games. So we know, I'm not saying we'd be used to that, but that's happened in baseball. It's very depressing. There's no baseball now. But that's never happened with football. Through the assassination of President Kennedy, through World War II, through 9/11. I think one of the salvations of 9/11 actually was, I looked it up, they were only playing 11 game seasons back then. So they almost had a delay built in where they could play the entire season. And I'm not saying that's what they're thinking about here, because it's a 12-game season, but it would have a profound psychological impact in the Southeast and everywhere, because we rely so much on it for our well-being, mentally.
Absolutely. Well, here's hoping we all get better and we have our sports seasons, and we get to back to normal sometime soon, after everybody has washed their hands, isolated themselves, and done what the medical experts not only suggest, but kind of command that we do right now. So, Dennis, hey, great talking to you. Great catching up, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, Blair, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners: unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening. As we mentioned earlier, some college football coaches have been featured in public service announcement videos to send good practice messages about COVID-19. We'll play them here. The first you'll hear is Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz, then LSU's Ed Orgeron, Alabama's Nick Saban, and Texas's Tom Herman. His comes with background music.
Hey, Mizzou family, this is Eli Drinkwitz. I want to first start out by saying thank you for allowing me to be your head football coach. The past 4 months of representing you has been tremendous, and I'm excited about what the future holds for us. The second thing I'd like to do is just pass along my condolences to Coach Widenhofer's family. Our thoughts and prayers are with you at this time. The next thing I want to talk to you about is this COVID-19 pandemic. Our leaders have asked us to practice 1, safe social distancing, and 2, to stay at home whenever possible. See, this is personal for me because I've got a lot of family members, brothers and sisters who are on the front lines of this healthcare battle, and I know you do too. And we need to help them by reducing the transmission of this virus. And the best way for us to do that is to stay home when possible. And if we can do that, then I really believe that our life will get back to normal sooner rather than later. See, adversity always presents us a great opportunity. And that opportunity for us right now is to not sacrifice what we want now for what we want most. And what I want most is for my family to be healthy, for us to be able to play football in the fall. And we can do all of those things if we'll practice what our leaders have asked us to do, which again is to practice safe social distancing and to stay at home when possible. And if we can all do those things, then this fall at Faurot Field, I'll be hearing you finish the chant, MIZ.
For every winning team, a key to success is learn the playbook. That's true in football, and it's also true as we take on the coronavirus. The spread of the coronavirus is a serious matter, but there's a game plan for keeping residents as safe as possible. Everyone has a role to play as we face this challenge together. Cover your cough with your elbow like this. Wash your hands thoroughly, a full 20 seconds. If you're sick, stay home. If you think you should be tested, phone your health provider first. Avoid close contact with anyone who's sick. Protect your at-risk family members, including the elderly. If you're not at risk, take care as you go about your daily business. Get the facts now from coronavirus.gov and your state health department. We're all in this together. Let's team up to protect our health.
First of all, I hope this message finds you and your family safe and well. On behalf of our program, we want to give thanks to all the medical professionals and caregivers in our state and across the country in these challenging times. Our daily routines have changed dramatically over these past weeks. Our staff is back to work, but we are working from home and obeying all social distancing guidelines. For Alabama football, the safety of our players and staff is what's most important. We are not having organized team activities of any kind, but we are continuing to communicate and support our players while doing everything in our power to ensure their health, safety, and wellness. As we have said to our team, we share the same message to all of you. Please understand the following guidelines of social distancing. It's important. We ask that everyone please wash your hands often. Stay at home if at all possible. And when you have to be out in public, make sure you keep 6 feet between you and the nearest person. We are in this together, and as one team, we will get through these difficult times. And together, we look forward to all that's to come, like the opportunity to play college football this fall. But the best and safest way to ensure that happens is to listen to the experts, follow their guidelines, and take care of each other. Stay safe and roll Tide.
Longhorn Nation, these are unprecedented and trying times we're in. We've been handed a challenge that none of us expected. We're dealing with great uncertainty and an opponent we all must defeat. To come away successful, it requires discipline, determination, commitment, patience, and perseverance. The message and response have been clear. We're in this together, and it's imperative that, like any great team, we unite, come together, and wage this fight as one. We will get through this, be stronger, and have brighter days ahead. I can't wait for the time when we're back together, back on the playing field, and the prideful chants of Texas fight. That day will come again. But in the meantime, be diligent, be mindful, be prepared, and follow all the guidelines set by the medical professionals. From washing your hands to social distancing, everything matters. Now more than ever is the time to go 1-0 in everything that you do. Your teammates are counting on you. From our Longhorn football family to yours, take care of yourselves and those around you. The eyes of Texas are upon you, and hook 'em horns.
That'll do it for today and this week on SportsBeat KC, the Kansas City Star's daily sports podcast. Thanks to the production team of Derek Donovan, Savannah Smith, Randy Mason, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. A tip of the cap to our guest, Dennis Dodd. Dennis used to work at the Star. He and I go back more than 30 years, and it's always great catching up with him. Remember, coverage of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic is not behind a paywall at kansascity.com. Please stay informed to the latest and most complete coverage of this global event on kansascity.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week to bring you more episodes of SportsBeat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.